Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. Today I'm going to be putting together a beautiful planter with some gorgeous sun-loving flowers, and I thought you might like to see the container recipe that I came up with. And then when I'm done this one, I'll show you another plant combination that I'm going to be trying in a few days. So this will just give you a couple of ideas for sun to part sun-loving containers. This should be fairly easy plant combinations to be taken care of, and just give you lots of color and impact all through the summer, right from this late springtime through summer and right into fall actually for most of these plants. So let's get started. I have a good sized pot here. I think this is about 15 inches, which I think is about 40 centimeters across, and probably a little taller than that, maybe about 18 inches, 45 centimeters across. And I've just filled it with a regular potting mix. And I'm going to put in some slow release ultra bloom fertilizer. This happens to be Miracle Grow. You could use whatever you like. This one says it will feed for 3 months, and it has a higher phosphorus, or the P, the middle number, rating, which gives you lots of nutrients for blooms. So this will be good for these flowers and just make this container a little bit more easy care. The reason I'm trying to make an easy care container is this is actually going to be a gift for Mother's Day. So this video will come out after Mother's Day, but I'm going to put it together here. I'll be taking this over for my mother-in-law for Mother's Day gift. So let's look at the plants that we have here. So this is a canna, and this is kind of an orangey hue, maybe kind of leaning towards red toned canna. I grow these in my yard every year, and I save the rhizomes over. And so this is just one of my rhizomes that I pre-sprouted starting, I think it was the end of March. And that's going to go as kind of my centerpiece for this planter. And then to kind of flank that centerpiece, I have marigold. This is Bonita Mix. This is one I like to grow in my yard every year as well. It gets to be, I don't think I told you how big this was. This will get around 2 to 3 feet tall, probably about 3 feet tall actually. So I'm going to put in a Bonita Mix marigold. Like I said, this is one that I like to grow in my garden every year. It's a very tough plant. It has kind of a reddish orange kind of flower on it, and these guys are tough. They can take a lot of maltreatment, a lot of heat, and they'll just keep on going for you. You know, they can even dry out, and then you could just water them. As long as you don't get them right to crispy, crunchy, dead, dried out, they'll come back for you, I find. So I'm going to put one on one side of the canna, and I'm going to use this Diassica. Diassica is one of those plants that people tend to think of as a, oh, I can see it needs water. They tend to think of it as a spring or a cool weather plant, but really they do quite well. They will flower the most in the cool seasons, so this will probably take a break through the hottest part of the summer, but it'll come back in the fall, which is great. So it'll take a little break with some of the other plants. The flowers are really doing their thing and putting on a show, and then in the fall, when some of the other plants are maybe starting to lose some of their color and excitement, this will come back into flower and look really nice. I'm actually going to go in and prune it back after I have it planted and we have a look at the planter. I'll actually prune back the flowers and cut it down by about 1/3, and that'll help it to just fill in a bit. I purchased this plant and it's just looking a little bit less than stellar, and I can see that it needs water, so I'm going to give it a little drink quick before I plant it. So it'll go here. Then I have 2 Calibrachoa. So this one is, what is it called? Conga Red, and has gorgeous red flowers with a yellow kind of center in it. And then this one is Conga Diva Orange, and you can see it has more of a yellow-orange stripe to it with a, I think it's a yellow center, and I don't know if you can see in there, it has almost a red ring around the center. So really a neat-looking plant. So I'm going to take this one that's a little bit more on the orange side of things, and I'm going to have it over here by the Diassica, and I'm going to have this that's more red over across from it, but more next to the marigold, because the marigold will have more of an orange red to it, so it'll kind of separate the deep reds from the oranges. I'm hoping that's the plan. Actually, I want to go like this. And then, just to bring some deep, dark mystery to the whole thing, I have this gorgeous, what is it called? Starlit Velvet Petunia. Do you see how dark that is? Now, I'm not always drawn to the dark petunias, but this one grabbed my attention, and I thought it would look just really nice in there with those oranges and reds and yellows. And then to go on the opposite side of it, I have this Ipomea. It's called Spotlight Black. And the Spotlight series don't get quite as large and overgrown as some of the other Ipomeas. So this one, it may still, if it's really happy, get really like hang down a lot, and it may need to be trimmed a little bit, but it really isn't supposed to get huge and overgrown for a container. Sometimes an Ipomea in a container this size can be too much, but I think this one will work in here. So it'll just go in the back, again, just kind of separating out the more colorful plants. So the petunia should kind of come down over the sides, the calibrachoa should come over the sides, the Ipomea will come over the sides, and I think that will give just a really nice full look to this, with the canna and the marigold and the diastaca kind of coming up a little bit more. I think this will be a great combination of plants that mix and mingle together. They all can take the sun, and they all can take heat. These plants can all take a slight bit of drying if it happens, but they really, except for the marigold, really would prefer to have pretty consistent watering. So I will have to make sure that my mother-in-law knows that, and to keep on top of giving them a drink when it gets into the really hot seasons. They'll probably need a drink every day, or when it's really full, even maybe twice a day. But the rest of the, like in the cool weather, probably every couple of days will be fine for that. So like I said, I can tell a couple of these are pretty dry, so I'm gonna grab a watering can and just set them back in this tray and just give them a little drink. And then we'll get the fertilizer in here and get going. So when I plant my cannas, I tend to put them a little deeper than you might normally think to plant them. They don't really need to be deep. They just need the rhizome below the surface. And if you were in an area where cannas grow naturally, that's probably all you'd want to do. You see the nice roots on there. But we get pretty windy here, and so I find just putting them about this much further down, or even a little more, can be beneficial for the canna plants, just to help them from breaking off and getting knocked over in the wind. These leaves get really big and large, like a banana leaf. I don't know if you can see the roots on that marigold there, but it's rooted in quite nicely, even though it's kind of a smallish plant. It has a bloom on it that's just about to pop, so that'll be nice for her to be able to see the color about to come on there. I gotta watch for this rhizome for the canna so I don't break it. This diastaca's had a little drink now. So I think the finer foliage of the diastaca and the marigold will look really nice with this canna foliage. It's so big and wide. So I think this is just an absolutely gorgeous arrangement. I can't wait to see what my mother-in-law thinks of it. Her patio furniture has some kind of reddish orange cushions and things on it, so that's why I picked the colors I did. I think it'll just be really striking up on her deck and just add that nice pop of color for them. They like to entertain. It's always nice to have a little bit of pop of color and something nice up on your patio or your deck when you have visitors over. At least I think so. So like I said, this diastaca is just a little bit leggy for my liking, and I am gonna just take, and I'm just gonna kind of gather it up like almost like a ponytail and just snip some of these long ones. I'll kind of look and take them back to where there's some leaves coming out of the stem and just give them a little trim. I won't take all the blooms off so she can still see some of the color that's going to come out of that, but that should encourage it to just branch a little bit more and fill in for her. Yeah, I can't wait to see this later in the summer when it's really filled in and everything's kind of worked its way together, and you know, you should have some of this Calibrachoa coming over and working in with these petunias, and the same with this. We'll be working around and filling in these areas here. It's going to be stunning. So let me move this out of the way and I'll just show you. I'm not going to plant my mom's flowers up today, but I have them picked out. She always has a pot that she likes her up on her deck that she likes me to just reuse every year. So I always just take the plants out to her place with some soil and fertilizer, and I plant them up for her there while we have a nice visit. So I'll be doing that in a few days, but I thought I'd show you the flower combinations so it'll just give you another idea. Like I said, for another kind of sun-loving container. This one can take a lot of sun and heat, and it will probably be in full sun, usually where it gets put. They're full sun and very happy. The other one can take a little bit more shade, but would also be happy in full sun. Let's move this. So down here, I have the plants for my mom's combination, and you will have to use your imagination a little bit, but hopefully it will give you a good idea of a plant combination to use. Okay, so we'll pretend this is our pot, kind of, just so you can kind of see them come together in the space a little bit. This is a Jade Princess Millet, and unfortunately it doesn't look that great. I grew it from seed. It's looking a little rough. I think it had a little bit too much cool weather one night. Forgot to go back in the greenhouse, but it will come back, and it's slowly recuperating from that night, so it'll be fine, and I'll just have to warn her. But these get beautiful, very bright green, kind of a light green leaf on them with this. Hopefully you can see the kind of red streaking or maroon streaking in them. And then they get a large like seed head, like a grass or a millet, that's a very maroony red color. Kind of it can lean to brown as it gets older, but it's quite a striking fuzzy kind of seed head on it that'll look really nice at the end of the season. So even though this is looking a little rough right now, there'll be enough plants around it that for the first little while it's getting settled in and recouping from that cold night, it'll be okay. And then I have the Dahlia Sunny Reggae. So this was grown, I grew this from seed, and these dahlias range from like yellows and apricots to reds and oranges in the flower, and I think they're mostly double flowers, but I might be wrong on that. And it should get, the Princess Jade Millet will get probably about 2.5 feet tall, so what's that, about 75, 80 centimeters. And the Sunny Reggae Dahlia will get to be close to 2 feet tall. That's about 60 centimeters, and the dahlia will fill out close to a foot or 30 centimeters. So it'll be really nice in here. And this one will start to bloom kind of midsummer and go right through fall. And then this one will come in shortly after. So they look really nice together. And then I'm going to put another one of these Bonita marigolds in here. My mom really seems to like marigolds, and this color will work really well. It's that same kind of orangey to red color. So that'll look really nice. Mom loves oranges and yellows, so I try to always find her a few of those. This is the Diva Orange, the Conga Diva Orange Calibrachoa again. And I think that just has a nice variegation. I'll bring some of the yellows into this and then tie in with the oranges that are already going to be here. And obviously this is going to be blooming right now. And it should bloom right from now, right until fall, and until it gets frozen. And then this is just a beautiful bright yellow. It's Conga Yellow Calibrachoa. So that'll give her her pop of yellow. I'm going to put that kind of across from the orange one. Actually, I'm going to put these more like this. And then I have, and it doesn't look like much right now, but this is a lobelia, and this is a white lobelia. So that'll just bring a little pop of white in here. And I'm just going to put it kind of in between like that. Now I could put 2 more lobelia in and really fill it in, but I think that would be too much for the size pot she's going to have. But the lobelia should kind of fill in, it should intermingle with some of the plants a little bit, but also trail over the sides and soften the edges of the pot. This shouldn't trail too far that it'll be overwhelming for the space, but it should just fill in really nicely. And so I think this will give her those oranges and yellows and nice pop of color that she'll like out there. These plants can all take full sun or part sun, and she has a patio cover, like an awning over her deck, so sometimes if they're on the table they're in a little bit more shade, so they'll only get part sun as it creeps in underneath the canopy at the beginning and the end of the day. But as long as they're getting around 6 to 8 hours of sun or more, they'll be just fine. So I think this will be a good combination for her. The lobelia, once it settles in, should start to bloom very shortly here. I grew these from seed, and they were just in little 72 cell plug trays. I just potted them up into these pots to make them easier to take out there without taking the whole flat. So they're a little bit behind just because they've been in those small cells, but they'll get going here right away. And I think this is going to be a beautiful combination, and I think she will love it. So that's another part sun to sun container that will do really well. Being that this has the dahlia in it, it will like to have a little bit more water. The millet is okay with the more water, but it could also be in a container that likes things a little bit more dry. But the marigold as well could handle a bit more dry. But all the other plants will prefer to have regular daily watering, and I think that will work well for her and her lifestyle. So well, I'll do the same thing when I plant this up for her, is I'll get her some new soil in her pot, just like I did with this one, and I'll add a slow release fertilizer so she doesn't have to worry about fertilizing or anything. And as long as she can just water the plants, then she should be good. All of these plants have been getting hardened off outside at my house. But if we get any cold nights, because we are before our average last frost still, I'll be warning them to just put a box or a sheet or something over them and move them up right against the house, or even bring them inside for the night if we're forecast to get anything that's 5 degrees Celsius or lower, just to make sure that they are okay with that, because some of these plants like the dahlia and the ipomea really won't like anything that cold. But other than that, they're good to be outside this time of year in mid-May and on. Hopefully this was helpful to you, maybe gave you some inspiration, some ideas, and you can get out there and go to the garden center or put together some containers to enjoy. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.